Irashaimase! Hello and welcome to Fataris' Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fataris. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday, and on the menu this week we have Earthion. What kind of taste will it have? Let's get cooking and find out. From developer Ancient, Earthion released for the PC via Steam in July of 2025. It has planned console releases in September of 2025 for the Xbox Series S and X, the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, and the Nintendo Switch. It also has a 16-bit cartridge release planned for the Genesis/Mega Drive in 2026. For the purposes of today's review, we'll be playing this one on a Steam Deck, which it performs beautifully on. Developed in the style of a 16-bit shoot 'em up, I can't recommend this title enough for all shoot 'em up fans. It's a great horizontal scroller that has incredible gameplay and mechanics, stunning pixel art visuals, and an awesome soundtrack. The whole package is definitely there, so I highly encourage you to check this one out. It definitely comes with the chef's highest recommendation. Finding ourselves at the main menu. When you press the start button, we're taken to this screen initially. You have some options here as far as being able to enter in a password, check out the game's challenges, or go into options. I love the way the options look. It definitely looks kind of like classic 16-bit option screen that you'd see on a Genesis or Super Nintendo shoot 'em up. So we can adjust the ships, the difficulty, although you can change the difficulty when you start a run, so do keep that in mind. There's also the ability to change the controls, a music player, music and sound test as well, so it's a nice little throwback to that era-specific feel. But in addition to that, so if you were playing on, say, a Steam Deck and you press the game menu button, you can also pull up this particular option screen, so the more modern shell of the game itself. So you can change the game's version, Japanese, Portuguese, English, or we can also make adjustments to the game's audio so you can have it be a little bit more classic 16-bit, as well as adjusting the visuals. You can add in filters like scan lines or change the borders of the screen itself. There's also a couple extra content here, some great demos to go and try, so definitely check this out. It's a great bit of extra flavor for this particular title. But with the settings the way that we want them, we'll initially start the game. So the passwords I'll explain in a little bit, but it definitely adds a great element to the title that I really feel elevates it to the next level. Starting the game, we're taken once again to a difficulty selection. Even if you set the difficulty in the options, we still have the ability to change it here. For our purposes today, we will be playing the game on normal. As I've said many times before, one of the things I love in a shoot 'em up is an excellent launch sequence, and I feel that Earthion really delivers with that here. So we'll just watch this and then dive into the gameplay. So this title is a horizontal scrolling shoot 'em up, and where it's developed as a 16-bit title, it does also have a 4:3 aspect ratio. And it really looks great in that whole resolution. So as far as what we have from an attack standpoint, your movement is pretty basic, but we have a primary shot and we also have the ability to pick up sub-weapons. They can be fired simultaneously, firing both at the same time, or if you wanted, you could go and fire your sub-weapon and your main weapon separately. But most of the time, it makes just sense to fire both at the same time. So as far as your main shot and the sub-weapons that you were collecting, they're leveling up through these green crystals that we're collecting, called Solarium. If you happen to take damage, then your weapon level will decrease and your shield will also go down, as we do have a shield meter, and I'll demonstrate that here in just a little bit. But before that, here's just some of the awesome visual flair this game has. So we had this ship come up to help us with our battle, and then just get utterly obliterated by that mech. So, as I was mentioning, the game has a shield system, so if we take a hit, it takes away from our shield there, which is the blue meter at the top. It will also decrease our shot power for both your sub-weapons and your main weapon, so that's something you want to avoid, but it's nice that the shield itself at least helps keep you alive. It regenerates after a brief period where if you don't take any more, let's see, damage at least, then it will start to regenerate, and it does regenerate at a pretty decent pace. it's possible to equip more than just the 2 sub-weapons that we see here. So an example is we can equip this flamethrower that's here, and you can swap between them. There's a couple different buttons for your swap, so you can go forward or backward, whichever way you want. And it's actually possible to have like, I believe up to 5, maybe even 6 sub-weapons, so you could potentially have a lot you'd want to swap through. Knowing which direction you were going is pretty important. But at the same time, you could also choose to upgrade your primary shot and your shield, or even the overall levels of your sub-weapons. And that little green pellet pack that I picked up there is what enables that. So towards the end of almost every single stage is what the game calls an adaptation pod, and that is what will allow us to level up between stages. So if you're looking to level up, you definitely want to make sure you're grabbing that. I believe the first 6 stages out of the 8 in the game have adaptation pods at the end, so it's possible to get significantly more levels by playing through and making sure you're collecting them. The downside is the adaptation pod does go and take up one of your sub-weapon spots. So we were fighting the whole boss while going over that, but the boss fights in this game are definitely really awesome, and each one you kind of have a weapon that you obtain in the stage that might go and be really good against that boss. In that case, the plasma beam that I was using definitely fits that. Now, since we had that pod, we find ourselves at the upgrade screen, or as it says here, select bonus. So let's go over what we can do here. So we can add an additional weapon slot. This would allow us to have extra sub-weapons. Or you could choose to enhance your shield and your main shot. This allows you to have a more powerful main shot as well as having another bar of shield. You can install a special weapon, and this will just depend on which stage you're at. That special weapon actually is a really good one. Or you can increase the level of the sub-weapons that you're picking up. Or if there's nothing you want to upgrade, you can just simply choose to grab an extra ship. So if you're starting out, what I would recommend doing is upgrading your shield and your main shot. And then it's up to you if you choose to go another level here or if you want more sub-weapons. But that's just my personal recommendations, the way I would like to go and play the game. And now, starting the second stage, you see a little bit more of that awesome visual flare I was talking about, that whole atmospheric entry that's there. But in addition to that, you can see things are a little bit different as far as the power-up of the ship. So I actually went and took the time to enter in a password and loaded up one of my previous runs, and one of the things that's awesome is when you get a game over, or if you happen to complete the game, then the game gives you a password that you can enter in, and you'll be able to start a new run with the power that you finished that stage, or rather, like, that you finished that particular run with, be it completing the game or having to get a game over. So here you can see that we've greatly increased the power of our shield and our main shot. So you can see the overall main shot here at a higher power level. But in addition to that, we also have another weapon slot, and it's also possible to carry over some of the weapons from your previous runs. So now we have like the spark here. I still have a flamethrower from the previous stage, as well as this 8-way shot here, which definitely has some great usage, but it depends situationally. Let's see which stage you'd most want to use it on. So we'll keep going with the flamethrower for now, and basically that is Earthion served up for your enjoyment as far as the main elements are concerned. So I love that there is that password system, so you can basically kind of continue to build your run, make an even more powerful ship itself. We've got the mechanics for powering up your ships, and I love how easy it can be in certain circumstances to power yourself back up even if you've taken some hits. So the mid-stage sub-bosses will have these sparkly bits where you can pick a lot of the Solarium crystals really fast, those super big ones, and they'll allow you to level up, which is great in situations where you've taken a lot of damage. Or, as far as like the sub-weapons are concerned, it's great to be able to level up a sub-weapon quickly, because in addition to potentially losing ship life,
if you take enough shield damage and the shields don't regenerate in time, when you take hits, as I mentioned, you lose energy, and if your sub-weapons go to, all the way to level 1 and then they run out of energy, you'll lose that sub-weapon. Or the adaptation pod if you happen to be carrying one of those as well, such as this one right here. So here's one minor outside complaint I do have about the game. When you pick up a sub-weapon, it pops out, and you already have one, it pops out in front of you, making it very easy to potentially go and continue that swap pattern. And that's my first minus flavor for the title itself. But there we have it, Earthion served up for your enjoyment. Really, that's my only minus flavor for the game itself. In so many ways, I think this is like such a perfect modern day take on the 16-bit shoot 'em up. So as far as the plus flavors are concerned, really the whole package. This is just an incredible instant classic of a shoot 'em up. I can't go and recommend it enough. It has great pixel art, a great soundtrack, awesome gameplay. The mechanics are definitely there. There's a lot of depth to it, and with 8 stages and a lot of different ways to be able to go and play through those stages, the challenges, I definitely feel the value is there, especially for their asking price digitally. But there's also great options for picking up physicals as well. There was a limited run option available for a time. In addition to that, there'll be the option to pick up the physical 16-bit cartridge. This is truly a special shoot 'em up, and I definitely recommend that if you're a fan of the shoot 'em up genre at all, you owe it to yourself to play this title. So it definitely comes highly recommended from the chef. And with that said, we find ourselves at the end of this week's episode of Shoot 'em Up Saturday. As always, we want to thank you so much for joining us. We hope you have a wonderful week yourself, and we look forward to seeing you again next time.